domestic terrorism within the country, and access was limited to a certain group headed by Rod Rosenstein. This became known as the Dirty Trick Squad in Baltimore. This is where they were using hammer, sunrise, sunset, things like that, to illegally spy on people, attempted corrupt judges, compromise them. Hillary Clinton, others. I mean, it was just ongoing. They concentrated on judges, but they wanted to concentrate on this. And it would illegally compromise people, illegally wiretap, break into computers, plant, reverse, change information, change emails, things of that nature. And it was in this capacity of working with them that the information about the judges, Roberts and Pence and things like that, have come out. I've tried several times in the past to get it out and was thoroughly squashed by Rod and the DOJ and the FBI to a horrible extent. I tried to get in 2015, tried to end run them and go to the Department of Homeland Security. But on the video I tried to warn President Trump about the people that he was dealing with daily, and especially Rod, Pence, things like that, as they were working together to remove him, trying to compromise the people around them, get through anyone they possibly could.
And how were Rod Rosenstein and Mike Pence connected?
That group, I mean, they're all interconnected in one way or another. That particular group was Rod, VP Pence, Paul Ryan. That was the core of that group. Roberts was in there, but that was the core of it, and it was an attempt where Rod was the brilliant legal mind behind it to remove President Trump under the 25th Amendment. But that's an old movie about somebody being passed over for promotion, which they both felt they were. VP Pence hated President Trump because he had taken his slot as rightful president. He felt that he did. And Paul Ryan was actually considered running as well for vice presidential slot, and Mitt Romney was also involved. But they thought President Trump was an outsider who had not paid his dues. They just didn't like him. So once VP Pence was in there, once President Trump was elected, obviously Vice President Pence, I just walked away and everything became very quiet. I was their mole inside, someone who could run interference, leak certain things, and just keep tabs on the president, manage him.
So was this a friendly relationship between Mike Pence and Rosenstein, or was there any kind of leverage being placed on the president or the vice president at the time?
There was leverage on Mike Pence because of surveillance from way back in the 2013 range that they had gotten FISA warrants to exploit, and Rod had that. He wanted a vice presidential slot himself. If they could remove President Trump, Vice President Pence becomes president, and Rod felt that he would be the natural selection for it. Paul Ryan felt differently, as did Mitt Romney, but that was the overall goal. Each one vying for the vice presidential slot. Rod thought he was the clear winner because of his legal brilliance and his management of the Mueller investigation and special counsels and things. He would be the one to remove the president, damage him so thoroughly he could be removed, and he deserved it.
Well, do you know what type of leverage would have existed over the vice president?
The vice president has had homosexual relations in the past. Many of them were adults. This is something he had done throughout his time in Congress. When he became governor, he thought that he was free to explore them more. There were two specifically that they had recorded. One gentleman, roughly 20 years his junior, they had a fairly steady relationship. There was one about half his age. It was much more sporadic. It's considered because it was more dangerous, harder to get time alone. And it was that second one that introduced younger and younger people. This is whomever, he's 17, he's really 15. Whomever, he's 15, he's really 13. And Rod and Roberts, the Chief Justice Roberts, a lot of the younger people involved, the ones that were brought as favors, were supplied by Jeffrey Epstein's channels, through his channels, his people. They were able to get FISA warrants because, one, of course, Chief Justice Roberts had the FISA court and helped them prepare them, but it was also Epstein was an intelligence asset to various agencies around the world. They used his information, they exploited it for their own good. So when he was here, or his people were here, it was easy enough to justify a FISA warrant on them. I would enact a warrant, surveil everything, document it, but they would not help anyone. They would not save the child. They would not reveal that it was more important for them to have the leverage on everything. Of course, this is under their own corrupt ideas, but under Rod, his tutelage. And they wanted the leverage.
All right. So I'm going to ask you if we could get into some more of the details with the Dirty Trick Squad and how Rosenstein was a part of that group, and if Roberts had any type of interaction with the group as well.
Dirty Trick Squad, it was just a nickname. Certainly wasn't anything official. There's a group of people that were either dirty or they controlled. I was one that was controlled. There's Rod, Sean Henry, FBI, Sean Bridges, Secret Service, Joseph Rosati, who was the DEA, Alan Borishak was ATF, Greg Utz, who was the TFO with the DEA, but he was formerly Baltimore County Police. That was the basis of the Dirty Trick Squad. The computer experts, you had the muscle, you had the technical experts, and that's what they were doing. And then there was another group in Fort Washington who was running one down there. This was a satellite location in Baltimore just for the really illegal stuff, illegal communications, hacking, phone tapping, you name it. And those people involved, they concentrated their main focus all the time, Title III judges, federal judges. But they would go after anyone, political rivals, sitting politicians, anybody they needed to go after, anybody they were pointed at. They went after family members of judges and compromised people as much as they possibly could. They had no problem hacking computers and planting information to compromise people. This is something they had done numerous times. Rod had done this for years and years, so had Sean Bridges, where they would finagle a case that they had before the court where, for instance, they would arrest a gentleman, and he had money, he had property, and something. He had the resources to fight them. They didn't like that, so Sean would go in, plant child porn on their computer. And what do you know? Oh, an examination. Now you got this on there. I don't know anything about it. Well, it's on there. We're going to charge you. And then he didn't want that. It ruined his life. Didn't want to go to prison as a pedophile. You know what happens, and things like that. And they would use this as leverage in hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of cases. And then he would plead, this person they charged would plead to a lesser charge that would not show up on the record, but he would have to forfeit property, money, things like that. And they would skim their percentage off. Sean Bridges was particularly good at it. It was his specialty. And he had done this at the county and state level. That's why he got in trouble a couple times, so much why he came under the slate of Rod Rosenstein, who got him up to federal. Sean did not like Obama, didn't like Hillary. He had access to the White House, the Air Force One, the CIA, NSA. He had those kind of clearances. He's the number one expert on the forensic study of the computers for the Secret Service and for most of the government.
Now, was he a government employee? Was he a contractor?
He was Secret Service. He was a Secret Service agent.
Okay.
A full Secret Service agent. So he had access to all these things, but I think because of his clearances, because of his expertise, he could go anywhere. He was often in the White House, texting the location of the president and Obama, what they were doing. He hacked Obama's BlackBerry just for fun, things like that. He shared messages with people, and hacked the girls' phones. I mean, it was nothing for him. He had lists of people that he would just call up and watch them do their daily stuff. He's just truly gifted with the computers. I'm good at the computers. I can do any of you need, but he's just one of those people born to do it.